Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Sports Report. It's the Triple Live Radio Morning Show. Josh Taylor, Kevin Gorman joining me in studio. And, of course, the big story of the day going on right now, the Pirates on a 5-game winning streak. They've won 8 of their last 10. But perhaps more impressive, Kevin, those 5 that they've won in a row have all been on the road. They won 1 in Seattle, 3 in Oakland, and now 1 in St. Louis, with 3 more with St. Louis still on the docket. But as it seems right now, as quickly as we saw the Pirates fall off around this time a month ago, it seems like they're starting to get themselves back on a roll. And they're doing it in the midst of having a lot of different problems. We have more injury news. Jamison Tyon's on the DL now. We've seen Chris Stewart go on the DL in addition to Francisco Cervelli and Garrett Cole. But there was also good news. Garrett Cole will make a rehab start tonight in Indianapolis. So it seems like they're starting to get at least on the other end of this bad stretch that they're going through.
Yeah, but I think the thing that's most impressive, as you mentioned, is that the turnaround is happening at a time when the Pirates aren't healthy. And not just the guys that are on the DL, but right now you're dealing with Polanco and McCutchen having injury issues. And, you know, the starting pitching has been, at the very least, the starting pitching rotation has been thrown into arrears. I mean, it's just a complete mess right now with them having to bring up rookie after rookie to fill in the gaps to start. So that's what's impressive to me. It's not so much when you look at Seattle and Oakland, you know, teams they probably should beat. The Cardinals winning on the road, that was important, and it was impressive, and especially in the fashion that they did it with a less than 100% Gregory Polanco hitting 2 home runs. First time in his career he did that, and impressive hits, too. I mean, it was just, I don't know if there's a Pirate I like to watch hit a home run more than Polanco. It just, you know, reminds me of my youth watching Darryl Strawberry with the Mets when he goes, when they throw low and outside, and he just, you know, catches it, and you know it's gone from the moment it hits his, you know, the bat hits ball.
And one of those was actually to the opposite field. I think it was 362 feet going towards the opposite way, which is really difficult to do. I don't think people really understand how hard it is to hit a home run over the wall to the opposite field. It might be easy to hit a line drive or maybe a ground ball here and there, but to put the ball on that kind of trajectory is not very easy to do. But you did point something out with the starting pitching. We've gotten to the point where I think within the past few weeks, we were hoping just to see average starting pitching, just good enough or solid starting pitching was something to hope for. But now it's gotten to the point where we've started to see at least solid starting pitching in maybe 4 or 5 consecutive outings here, and that's made a lot of difference too.
Especially at a time when this is when I think Pirates fans, if you went back to the beginning of the season, expected to see some call-ups of Taillon and even Glasnow. And you know, so they were expecting, hey, we're going to have Cole and Lariano, Taillon, Glasnow, and then either Locke or Neese. And in this case, you haven't had Cole. Lariano hasn't been himself, although we're starting to see some signs of him returning to form, maybe very slowly. But you know, just that they've had to pull guys up and that they're asking for spot starts. I was just listening to to Joe Holt talk about Brault, who's going to make his debut, and that this is a guy who hasn't thrown more than 90 pitches in his last outing and more than 70 in the previous outings. So don't expect a lot out of him today, but just that they're having to call a guy like that up and have him make a spot start just to kind of, be a stopgap. That's what's impressive, is that they're winning despite all of these things.
You mentioned Francisco Liriano getting back on track. The one thing we've noticed in each of the last starts from Liriano, Neese, and Jeff Locke, all of their walks are down. They're not walking batters. And we talked about, in the past, we've talked about Tyler Glasnow and his issues with walks in the minor leagues. He starts Friday night. He only walks 1 batter in 6 innings. So collectively across the board, the walks are starting to decrease, and it looks like we're seeing the benefits from it by just not putting extra runners on base.
Well, sure. I mean, and that's obviously a point of emphasis throughout the organization, as you're mentioning. But, my take on that is, I don't like when you mess with a guy who's being very successful at the time and saying, well, okay, he threw six more no-hit innings, but he's walking too many guys. I mean, you can pinpoint those things and say, hey, there's still room for development, which I think was what the Pirates are trying to do. But you also start nitpicking the mistakes or the problems that a guy has, and then I think that gets in their head. And I think we saw that a few years back with Polanco when he was on a hitting tear in AAA, hitting well over 400, and they started talking about, well, he's not doing this and he's not doing that, and then he leveled off. And then when he came up to the majors, he wasn't as hot. And then when he started off well in his debut, his first couple games, he played great. And then they started nitpicking, well, here's what he's not doing. And I think that, especially for a young guy who's trying to prove himself, I don't like them nitpicking too much. I mean, obviously you're going to point out their deficiencies, but I think sometimes the Pirates do it a little bit too much.
And they admitted that as much. I mean, we heard some of the interviews in the past week or so when they've tried to maybe tinker with the approach for Glasnow, but they've gotten back to, okay, just go back and do what you do. Don't try to do too much. Just go back and throw.
But then you've already gotten his head. And here's my thing is, why is Glasnow not the guy coming up as opposed to a Brault? You know what I mean?
Well, he just started on Friday, so he's not in line to start today.
But I'm just saying, just in general, though, like, why is he not the next guy in line? I understand that, in terms of the rotation, that's where I said the rotation's a mess right now because they're just having to pull guys out of the minor leagues and make spot starts. But why is Glasnow not ready to come up if Taillon's going on the DL? Why isn't that the move that's being made? It's almost a too easy of a move to make. I mean, it's almost like, hey, this is, maybe Glasnow will be up by Friday. I don't know. Maybe he'll make a start in Pittsburgh instead. And
we're starting to see that they're pitching, they're kind of piecing things together, and we'll get a little bit more into detail with that coming up in this hour and also on the Black and Gold Baseball pregame show here on Trib Live Radio.